Are you an Animal Crossing noob? Did you get Animal Crossing for Christmas? Or one of the new Animal Crossing Switches? Don't worry, I've been playing the game since it was released in April 2020, and over the course of what is almost 4 years, I'm going to share over 60 tips to turn you from noob to pro in no time. Well, 17 minutes to be exact. Make yourself comfy as there's a ton of ACNH content on this channel, so let's get started. We'll begin with this one. You might have noticed the birds on the bulletin board, or owls when it's after dark. Well, it's a visual cue or indicator that you've got unread messages. Once you view them, the birds will disappear until you've got more messages to read. I understand that there are many players, like my wife for example, that wander around the island at this speed and didn't realize that you can run even faster. Well, you can. Like Super Mario, you can hold the B button to run at a faster speed. Just be careful though when you're running with a toot mask, cause this happens. Animal Crossing is a seasonal game, and depending on whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, you'll have different dates that signify the change of the season. Note that there are 4 main seasons, but there are also 2 short 10-day stints of cherry blossom and maple leaf after spring and autumn respectively. On screen are the in-game dates for the seasons, so feel free to take note of them. Also make sure that you make the most of catching those catchables with your nets, including the snowflakes during winter, cherry blossoms and maple leaves. During autumn, you'll be littered with a whole bunch of different mushrooms to collect. In summer, you don't catch anything flying, but the shores will be littered with summer shells that are blue in colour. During autumn, you can shake hardwood trees that look like this for acorns and pine cones from the cedar trees that look like this. It would be silly of me not to tell you this tip, which is, it's great practice to shake trees while having a net in hand. This way, if you encounter these beasts, you can catch them before you get stung. Chances are high, as each day there are 5 random trees that will have a wasp in them. However, you can live on the edge and be prepared to run as fast as you can to the nearest open door. I'm looking for houses with windows having the curtains drawn. Thanks, Sasha. Phew. There are places of refuge like this pergola to buy you some more time. You can run from shelter to shelter if you so wanted. Here you can get your net out, but they will catch you eventually if you take a little too long. Pro tip, pull up your pockets to pause time, giving you plenty opportunity to compose yourself, hold your net and catch these little suckers. Whilst the game is seasonal, there are things that are available all year. You can shake your trees every day to reveal 2 furniture items per day. Continuously shaking trees can provide with more than just the 1 stick. Trees can give you more than sticks and wasps. They're the source of the 3 types of wood in the game: softwood, hardwood, and woodwood. Yeah, that's what I call it. Each has its own unique colour, which you'll learn to differentiate. Each tree can spit out 3 pieces of wood each day, as long as there's space for the wood to land. Here you'll see that the tree is surrounded by weeds, but you can work with this by always standing in a space that won't spawn into. Note here I'm clearing space and then standing into a non-vacant spot. I usually keep my axe and net right next to each other in my pockets so I can quickly switch between the axe and the net to catch wasps or critters in the trees that appear when you hit them. For a more detailed guide on the tool ring and the pockets, I'll leave a link in the description for you. Just a word of warning, there are 2 different types of axes, a blunt one and a sharp one. You can still get wood from trees with the sharp one, but on the 3rd strike, the tree's out. I keep a blunt one handy for wood farming. Trees aren't always planted where you want them to be. You might have tried digging them up but failed. Well, if you'd like to move trees, you'll need to eat a fruit for every full-grown tree you dig up. This gives you energy which is depleted as you use them. You can plant them somewhere else. Just imagine I'm somewhere else on the island. You can take them from your pocket and replant them into the ground. There are 6 types of fruit trees, the first which can only be grown on sand, and the others are peach, orange, pear, apple and cherry. And one of these grass-grown trees is your native fruit. Having palm trees away from the beach is possible. You just have to use this little trick if you've got terraforming. Lay down some sand and you'll be able to plant a palm tree on your grass. Voila! The power of fruit can be damaging. Using it on rocks will smash them, depriving you of the opportunity for the resources that come from it. Rocks can spit up to 8 items only if 1. You make sure that all 8 spaces around the rock are clear. 2. You make sure that you don't recoil or bounce back, so you use this 2-hole technique to keep you in place. And 3. You keep hitting that A button in quick succession and really mash it fast when it gets down to the 7th and 8th items. Rocks give you stone, iron nuggets, clay, and occasionally rare gold nuggets. If you do take too long between hits, particularly as you get to the last couple of items, the rock will stop giving you things. I for one have definitely been disappointed when this has happened. Feel free to get creative with the natural parts of the island to mimic a second hole, as I'm using with this river. Make sure you get all 8 items. When you're on a mystery flight, you can use the power of the fruit to get you to break the actual rock to give you a 9th resource. A more advanced technique is to create a so-called rock garden, which saves you having to dig your rebound holes every time. There are guides on YouTube to create these gardens, but let me know if you'd like me to make one too. I'll leave a link in the description for a speed build for this garden of mine. A technique I use sometimes is to try and dig up a tree before hitting rocks, since if I do dig one up, at least I can put it back again. Unlike breaking rocks on your island, there is another way to poop your fruit to make sure that you deplete all of your energy. Ah, that's better. At some stage, you'll have the excitement to sink a bunch of time in moving trees. On that note, it's a lot cheaper and easier if you buy turnips on Sunday mornings before 12 PM to consume, which gives you 10 power points, which is a lot cheaper than doing it individually for each of your fruits. Whether you're putting up seasonal items, once you've got access to terraforming, you can use the cleanup option to quickly get rid of stuff immediately around you from your island, which sends it to your recycle bin. Box. Now with Halloween out of the way, I guess the next season to prepare for is Thanksgiving? Or is it Christmas? There will come a time when you start getting into moving and placing the buildings in the game. When it comes to moving buildings around, you might not have a firm grasp as to how big buildings are. So here's a visual guide for you to know how much space they take up on your island, along with the cost it takes to move them. And here's a quick all-in-one visual for you. Oh, and if you've got a flower situation like this and you want to clean them up and can't be bothered, move one of your big buildings to remove them en masse. Got excess DIYs lying around the place? Well, don't worry. Since Animal Crossing 2.0, we now have the ability to stash all those unused DIYs, saving it for friends and family, and keep your island looking neat. And now that we're able to hoard all that much more, it makes it harder to find things in your storage. So when you're designing at home, or Harv's Island, or Happy Home Paradise, make sure you use this new grouping mechanism by pushing in the right control stick to allow you to navigate the subcategories like chairs, tables, beds, etc. Now, what was I looking for again? Occasionally on the daily greeting, Isabel will announce that you have shooting stars, but that doesn't always guarantee that Celeste is visiting. You'll find yourself spending precious time looking to see if she's even on the island, only to be disappointed if not. One way around this is that you can now do the group stretching events if it's after 7 PM or so. You'll immediately see if Celeste is on the island to talk to her for star fragments or DIYs. Admittedly, you'll have to still go and find her after the group stretching. And of course, don't forget to collect your star fragment after your wish making, the morning after. Another resource are these gyroid fragments which are found by the beach. They're kind of like baby gyroids. You can also get these fragments on every island tour that you take with Cap'n for 100 Nook Mile points. If you're sick of his singing, just mash the B button if you're in a rush. Here you'll find potential islands like this one where you get the fancy vines and glowing moss which you can take home. Make sure you grab the message in a bottle for a recipe you might not already have, and you can also grab the vines from the top. Now back to gyroid fragments for a second. To grow them you need to dig a hole, bury it, and then water it. You'll know you've done it right when you see the smoke coming out of the crack. So check on it the other day and it will be one of the 36 available gyroids, some of which are on display in front of this jukebox. You'll also find ready-made gyroids, usually after days where it rains, so make sure you dig up all the cracks on the ground. Every so often, this guy or his buddy Gulliver turns up, asking you to find his missing communicator parts. I remember when I first encountered him, I dug holes across the whole beach looking for them, only to realise later that it's the clam squirts that you should be looking for. True story, I really did do this. I wasted so much time, so just look for those squirts and then dig there. Sometimes you might get a clam, but usually you will get the actual part. It's worth noting it doesn't have to be on the exact same beach that Gulliver was. It could be any of them. Catching bugs is such a fun element of the game, but one thing I didn't know when I first started was that when your character exclaims, "Yes!" it's because you catch a certain bug for the first time, so watch for it when you do. This also applies to all critters in your Critterpedia. This also doubles up with the red dot indicating that, and here's another one that I've caught for the first time versus this one which I have caught before. On the topic of bugs, did you know that Halloween candy can be used as bait to attract ants, which is another critter in your Critterpedia? Just lure them in and catch them with your net. Catching tarantulas and scorpions at night would have to be the scariest thing players have to deal with, but here I am on Tarantula Island and I can show you how to catch these cheeky critters. The trick is to arm yourself with your net by pressing and holding the A button, and then you can walk. When the tarantula rears up, stop. When it settles down you can walk towards it again, and once you're close enough, which takes practice, let go of the A button to catch it. You can continue walking towards it as you get better. It's worth noting that whilst it might be new to your collection, you can use the Critterpedia which shows an icon if it's been donated to our friend Blathers. No icon, not donated. Win! If you haven't played the game in over 30 days or so, you'll get messy hair. In doing so though, the game does spawn cockroaches in your house which you'll need to get rid of. You can play Whack-A-Roach using your furniture, which can be a little bit more interactive and strangely satisfying than running them over. You can also place things from your pocket, like this full-length mirror, which brings me onto the fact that you can unlock your new messy hairstyle the first time you don't play the game for a month. So this could be something worthwhile doing. Now let me fix my hair before we get on to the next tip. There, that's better. If Timmy and Tommy bother you like shopping assistants in real life can sometimes, hopefully I haven't caused any offense there, you can use this little trick to keep them from following you. Then you can go back to your shopping. Ever wondered where you get cardboard boxes from? Well, they get put into the recycle bin whenever a villager moves in or out. And do keep tabs on your new villagers after they move in. I found that they tend to need special attention and get sick in their first few days. Try not to ignore the balloons flying overhead for goodies, which range from items to resources. The direction of the balloon flight is dictated by the time of the day. It goes in one direction during the day towards your pier and the other for night. You can use a fake wistful painting, which is the one on the left, which goes to sleep at night time, but the time is variable as the days in Animal Crossing get longer and shorter, just like real life. If you pay special attention during the hours of the night, you'll see the smoke start to shift from one direction to the other direction. Let me know in the comments, does the daylight wind go towards your pier, and are you a northern or southern hemisphere? Crafting items can be both rewarding and fun, but can be rather tiresome and slow. If you double hit the B button while crafting, you can speed up your crafting. The recipe to craft can be taught to you by your villagers along with the recipes you find washed up on the beach. Just look for the smoke coming from the houses and visit your villagers at different times of the day. So check in with them every 3 or so hours and you can collect up to 3 times per day. Fun little tip is that you can craft alongside your villager if you're ever desperate in need of a crafting bench. Watch out, Sasha. I need to borrow this bench for some medicine. Oh, and if you're curious about how to get the recipe for medicine, stay tuned. You still here? You're curious, right? This is how you get the recipe for medicine so you don't have to buy it. Just purposely get stung by a wasp, then find the villager that is crafting and speak to them. After being not so careful with their words, they will provide you with the recipe to learn to be able to craft it. I need a patch to cover up this eye before I take the medicine. In the game, there are 8 villager personalities. Don't make the same mistake we did. I'd recommend getting at least 1 of each. The reason for this is that each personality type gives you a certain pool of DIYs that the other personalities don't give, and they all have certain DIYs in common as well. This also applies to the reactions that villagers give you. There are common ones you can get from any villager, but certain ones particular personality types give you. This brings us to villager hunting. When you get the ability to go villager hunting, don't get the first one you see. Try to keep an ongoing balance of the different personality types and the looks that you're after. I remember when we first got the game, we just thought, ooh, there's an animal here, let's invite him to our island. This is your chance to be picky. Whilst on mystery tours, you can get 1 furniture item from each island. And if you go to mystery flights after 7 PM, you might find Tarantula Island, which you can make some serious bells with all the spiders you catch. It's also a great chance to grab ready-made fruit trees that are non-native to you to allow you to make some quick bells back at your island. For tips on how to make heaps of bells, I'd recommend this video next.